think if you miss out on those moments that are difficult, you don't build the strength to manage life when it gets difficult. So life is just hard and it feels unfair and it feels abrasive. But once you kind of go through the kind of like the levels of what life has to give you, you start figuring out like, man, as much as I don't like what happened before, I appreciate all of it. It made me able to handle life, which allows me to enjoy more of it longer.
Welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am Ben Newman, and every week we are going to bring you an athlete, an entertainer, a celebrity, an entrepreneur, somebody who is connected to their burn to unleash the next level of their performance, hearing their stories, how they focus, what's their mindset. And today, this is like humbling for me because I'm sitting here taking a look at my guy Anthony Truck's bio, and I'm like, wait a second now. What has this man not done? Former Oregon Duck, former player in the NFL, former contestant on American Ninja Warrior, international speaker, podcast host, and now he's got Identity Shift, the book coming out. So Anthony, also dedicated husband, father. Come on, man. Like, you're making me look like I'm not doing anything. So what's up with that, Anthony?
I don't know, man. I live my life in my own way, man. It's not my fault the mirror's thing, right? I'm just kidding.
Well,
No,
I
live my life, man.
I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation with you because I know, and I want everybody to know, Anthony and I was one of those things. We were on John Gordon's Power Positive Summit together a few years ago, started following each other, never really connected. We had a mutual friend who said, man, the two of you need to connect. And so finally we have, and man, it was like my old friend that I hadn't talked to in years. And just hearing your drive and your passion and your energy. So I'm going to throw it to you because you know what we're about here on The Burn. Yeah. Where does that come from for you? That natural passion, energy, fire to get after it. Where does your burn, that fire inside of you come from?
Man. So I got a little goose pimples already, man, because you made me go deep on a Monday morning. Now, it comes from, it genuinely comes from me not mattering when I was growing up. I think there's this like, I want to stick it to life in a sense. My mom gave me and my siblings away when we were 3. When I was 3, they were all younger. And so because of that, I've always had this thing, like, this it's stuck in my jaw. Like, I want to have this be to where I leave this planet and go, you made a big mistake. And so that's a lot of the burn. It's not to demean or diminish or to make minuscule, but it's actually to serve at a high level. Because in order for me to have it be something where I did the right thing here, I gotta live at a big. So that's what kind of gives me my burn, is like getting every day and genuinely knowing like I was not supposed to be here, but I'm gonna keep seeing how dang far I can get along this journey. And then outside of that, it's also making sure that later on when I leave this planet, my kids, no matter where they go on God's green earth, if someone says, who's your dad? And they say Anthony Trucks, they go, that was a dang good guy, man. So that's a big piece of my desire to leave a huge legacy.
Yeah, legacy is such an incredibly important thing for me as well. Let me keep this deep if we can. I know it hit you and got the goosebumps, but I'd like to keep it there. So there's a lot of people who find fear in going to that place where it is that just watch me mentality, that fear that the tough things that happened in my life, do I really need to go there? How has it formed for you over time to recognize, because I found this for me in my life, that there's actually great strength in the connection to the pain that you've been through?
Yeah, man, there's this quote I love, and it goes, a smooth sea makes not a skilled sailor. And it essentially tells me, like, at the end of the day, life is just an ocean, man. We all go out of the harbor and we go out to the ocean, right? Some people do it later in life and they haven't spent time on the ocean and kind of navigating those seas. And so for me, like, I was forced to do it at a young age. So everybody's going crazy, like below the deck, and the storm's going. Like, I'm up on the deck sipping tea, screaming in the rain. It's a different sense of confidence. And I think if you miss out on those moments that are difficult, you don't build the strength to manage life when it gets difficult. So life is just hard and it feels unfair and it feels abrasive. But once you kind of go through the kind of like the levels of what life has to give you, start figuring out like, man, as much as I don't like what happened before, I appreciate all of it. It made me able to handle life, which allows me to enjoy more of it longer.
It's so powerful, so powerful. So speak to the individual right now, because you touched really there the fears, the doubts, the uncertainties, you choosing to go get in that storm of life when many people resist it. And there's a lot of people resisting taking action right now. I like to say sitting on the sidelines, waiting to see what happens. What are the conversations that you're having with individuals to really inspire them to take action and to get off that sideline right now?
Yeah, I think the thing is I just did a live on this today. It's about writing your story, right? I think it might have been Tony Robbins. He talks about, like the stories we tell ourselves, like these, you create a story in your head and you'll live into it. I think a lot of people sit in the sideline because they've let the story be written for them. Therefore, they don't feel like they're in control to adjust it. So this is like what I got. This is my life. It's all it is. They don't take the true ownership of like control and go, you know what? I have the ability to write whatever story I want and live into it. And like my work's an identity, and quite literally an identity is like, we have one every day. Like we have one right now. It was our life living and being every day has become this person at this moment, listening, talking, speaking. And we look into the future and go, okay, I want something better, want something more. Well, if you were that person, you'd already have that thing. So the way I look at it is like, you've got to be a different person. So how do you do that? Well, I got to be somebody different every day. And so when you say I'm on the sidelines, like, yeah, a lot of people on the sidelines continuously letting that identity be rewritten the same way it is and never having that thing they want. I go back and go, okay, great. You have the ability to adjust it. You have the ability to be different every day. So to become the person who has that thing. So when you look at your life, it should be this thing where it's like, all right, dang, I may not look like that person now. Yeah. But what if you change a story? Quite literally, what if you just say, I'm going to change the story I speak about myself, which then says, okay, I got to change the way I live in a way to make that story right. Because Ben, we all live in a way to make our stories right. If I say I'm stupid, I will live in a way to be able to say, look, see, I'm stupid. I'm not going to read the books, not going to go to the seminars, not going to do the trainings. If I say, I'm not supposed to have anybody love me, I'll self-sabotage my relationship. So I could say, see, look, I'm not supposed to be loved by anybody. If I tell myself a story of like, look, I want to have money. I want to have free time. I want to be a person people look up to. I want to be a guy that's not a statistic. I will find a way to live in a way to make that right, because no one wants to go to bed out of alignment. Nobody. I'll lose sleep. So if I tell myself I'm this person and I can live in alignment, I can sleep like a baby. When you don't, when the story's here and you're living different, you get this separation. You feel bad about yourself, and it becomes a difficult life. So if someone's on the sideline right now going, man, I don't know what to do. First off, realize you can change something. Realize it's a story you're telling yourself. 2, change the story. And 3, tell yourself what the ending looks like and live into the ending.
So it makes me want to throw out a fun question here, because I love watching the show American Ninja Warriors. I mean, I'm one of those emotional dudes. So I'll cry when you hear people's stories, like what they went through to be able to compete, right? So let's take that as an example, because, I think you going and playing football at Oregon and then NFL, it's one of those people would probably expect what your answer would be, right? Oh, I believed I would play there. But see, to me, American Ninja Warrior is totally different, right? Because I want to hear that, because that's like, you're seeing that on TV and you're like, I can do that, right? Because most people, they're going to look at that and go, how do those people do that? Like, look at this guy's body. Look at her body. Like, she must train all the like, how does she do that? But for you, there had to have been a moment where you were watching on TV or a friend challenged you, I got to hear this. And then you told yourself, because what comes out of our mouth goes into our ears. That's what we believe that drives our action, which is exactly what you just said. So tell me the American Ninja Warrior, like, how did that go down?
My wife, she filled out the application without me knowing it. She just like, she likes to put me in funny positions, like figure it all out. So we'd come back into some weird trip, and like she filled it out. I was like, hey, I need you to do this video real quick for this TV show. I was like, whatever. And I thought it was Wipeout, where like they have like a bunch of guys speaking different languages, So I get a call like 3 months later. Now, just, American Ninja Warrior, you're talking like 5'8", 9 guys, rock climbers. They're not big people, or they're really, if they are tall, they're super skinny. They don't have a lot of bottom heavy like me. I played linebacker in the NFL. And so I get a call out of the blue and they're like, hey, we're gonna have you on the show in about 30 days. I got a cool story, so like it would be good for the TV show portion. Now I found out later they had no belief I would actually get through the obstacles, and neither did I, because I was 240 pounds when they called me.
Wow.
And I'm like 240. I'm a big dude. Like, I'm not supposed to be hanging by my hands, let alone jumping from bar to bar. And so I spent 30 days just grinding, because in my head I figured, well, I'm going to be on national TV, and my identity is I don't look stupid. I tell my kids, our family motto is trucksters don't just show up, they show out. Like in everything we do, we don't just show up to these things, we show out. So what do we got to do to show out? So my mind was, what I got to do. First thing was, I got to lose some weight as best I can, lose some weight. 2, I might want to go and try this stuff first before I go on national television, right? So I found a local gym. I drive to the gym. My elbow started hurting because I wasn't used to hanging. I got about 7 hours of time. But here's what took place. I got to the show and I did an interview, and the guys were like, all right, go hit a buzzer. I'm like, I'm going to. Because in my head, I'm like, that's exactly what I'm here to do. And they go, sure, okay. And you could tell in their head, like, he's not going to do it. And like you said, most people would go like, oh, not even the guys who are the guys who do this believe in me. Why should I believe in me? And my thing was like, I'm about to prove you wrong, man. Here we go, And sure enough, I go up the next day, and then I go in the first thing to the rope swing thing, and I almost fell off. Now I come to find most former football guys, they don't make it past 2 obstacles. Most guys fall off because they're not used to doing this stuff. So I'm like, I got to get past 2 obstacles. I get past the first one. Okay, good. Second one, good. There's 6 in the first round, by the way. Then 4th one, then 5th one, get to the last one. Guys I had been training with, who were training me, had got to this obstacle and fallen off. In my head, I'm gassed. I'm tired. I'm heavy. I don't even know how I got here. I almost fell off the blocks into the water on one. I did like this weird form. So I get up, bro. I get across it, get up the wall, and I hit the buzzer. First former NFL athlete to hit a buzzer, right? It was not the norm. And for me, the only difference was at no time did I, in my head, question. People will be like, never? I'd be like, no, because here's the thing. What story you tell yourself, you'll find a way to make right. And I knew this going in. So was that story wanting to come through? Hell yeah, it wanted to come through. But I kept visualizing myself hitting the buzzer and swinging, because if I get to visualize something, I'm going to choose the good stuff. If I get to watch a movie, I want to watch the good movie, not the bad one. So I kept that mind just in that direction. Sure enough, dude, I found a way. And so it wasn't anything like, I'm not some gifted American Ninja Warrior guy, but I had the will in the moment. It matters in the moments. Like, I'm not going to let go. I'm going to figure it out. At one point, I smacked my head on the obstacle. I was bleeding, but I still had to figure it out, because I in that moment, I'd gone crazy and identified myself as I'm a ninja warrior. And lo and behold, look what happens.
All right. So now here's where we got to go, because I know you're all about serving people. The amount of speaking that you've done around the world, the impact that you've had on tens of thousands of people, from coaching to speaking events. It's truly remarkable. And I know you believe in legacy, and you are leaving a big one, but you also want to help people change that narrative and that story. So You've gone from having the shift method in your coaching to now having the book Identity Shift come out. And we are making sure that everybody understands this book is now available by the time you hear this full interview. And the book is released. It is out. It's going to be a bestseller. It's going to have huge impact. But what I would love for you to do is take us inside. Take us to somewhere inside the book right now.
Yeah.
And this concept of you saying yes to American Ninja Warriors when your wife, after your wife, because you eventually had to say yes. She could have said, I submitted this request, or, filled out the form. No. You could have said, okay, I'll do it. And the trucks are going to show out on this one. But take us inside the book. What are people going to learn about their ability to go change that story and go accept that challenge in their life?
Yeah. Well, first, let me preface it. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to play in the NFL or American Ninja Warrior. These are not realistic for a lot of people. I had a lot of NFL strength that allowed it to be possible. But here's the truth. Every single one of us wants something more, and we don't realize that it's not what we know, it's who we are with what we know. It's that we are in this epidemic of shelf esteem. We buy stuff, goes in the shelf. I feel good, but I don't consume it and I don't use it, right? Like 3% of people ever actually consume and then use it. which is why we have like the 1 to 3%. So the book goes in and says, look, a lot of the time you keep making the investment of the one investment of two investments got to be done. I make the investment of money somewhere. I may go to college. I might, get a training program. I might buy a book. But the second one's the most important. The second one is, do you invest the time past the pain point to succeed? And most people will not put that investment in because they don't think it's who they are. At the core, no matter what it is, they could say, I'm afraid, I'm apprehensive, I don't know. But the core, it's not who I am yet. So the work I do goes back to the root and says, let me figure out who you are now, who you want to be, and then how do you become that person? Like actually wake up one day and go, damn it, this is who I am. Because when you can be that person, that's a whole different way of living life. Like there's certain things that just will stop some people and they will never even think of it. I just naturally move past it. Like, how'd you get stuck on that? And it's not that I'm better. It's just my identity identifies differently. And so the book, when I go in, like one of the segments we go into is understanding where you're at. It's called the ID phase grid. If you can understand the phase of your identity right now, it'll give you the ability to start charting a path. Because unfortunately, most people do is just start working. And what they find is they start climbing this ladder, get to the top of it and go, man, it's leaned against the wrong building. I did the wrong work, right? I didn't know where I would start. I charted GPS with a destination kind of, but no real start point. So I'm just out here floating around the world. So what I did in the book, it's called Identity Shift, Upgrade How You Operate to Elevate Your Life. It's about upgrading how you operate at an identity level. And one of the first pieces is figure out who in the world you really are. Like Avatar, like see, like the Avatar, see, like I see you, like that kind of level. Jake Sully, like when you see the depths of you, you go, oh, okay, now I know who I am. I don't like seeing that, but now I know, okay, let me work on that. And then the book goes into how do you actually take this information and apply it in simplistic micro actions to eventually over time get to the point where you look back. And like all successful people, Ben, the same for you, I guarantee. There's a time when you look back, it will call it the unsuccessful you. And someone says, who were you back then? You would be like, man, I was somebody else. I didn't think the same, act the same, value the same stuff. I didn't do the same habit. I was a different person, right? So this book tells you how to get to that end result where you look back one day and go, man, I don't even know who I used to be. I know it was somebody, but it wasn't who I am now.
Well, if you're not compelled to get the book after just hearing that, because like I want my advanced copy, right? I want an advanced copy now. Like I need this thing immediately. Anthony, help us understand. I know you want to do something special for our listeners. What is it that you'd like to do for the listeners?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna give you guys some cool stuff, yo. So here's my thing. I am a giver. I think it's one of those things that for me, I've learned that the more you give, the more comes back. And this book quite literally is one of those things where like, at the end of my day, I want to have an amazing funeral. Sounds odd, but like I want to know that when I came into the world, my mom didn't even care about me, that I left the world and the world cared about me. So I give as much as I can. So what I'm doing is those who get the book and then come to the site, which I'll give you guys a link in a second, all you got to do is put in the code. It's going to be TB for the burn. And what'll happen is you get an autographed copy. And so you'll have, if you win, you'll get 2, but 1, I will send you a personally autographed copy from me, the first 10 people who go. And then everybody else, including those people as well, will get a free workbook. Now this workbook goes hand in hand with the actual book. It's like I have full coaching programs that people pay thousands of dollars for, but I wanted to find a way to extract the gold from those and give it for like cheap, like we'll call it cheaper, but also for a lot of people free, man. Cause I'm like, this is just some work I want the world to have. So if you go get the book, come back to, it's going to be called IdentityShiftBook.com, use code TB. You'll enter yourself to be one of the first 10 to get an actual signed copy from me and an opportunity, which everybody will get a free workbook. So it's $97, but it's free to you guys. So you can get that with the book and then you can start doing the actual work. Because one thing to read the book and have that self-esteem, it's a whole other thing to actually be able to do the work and look at your life and go, wow, I'm finally making that progress. So IdentityShiftBook.com, use code TB for the Burn podcast.
Anthony, thank you so much for that. So many times on the show, individuals have heard me say, everybody wants to tell you how bad they want it. But then when we go have a conversation with your action, that's when we find out the real story. And I think that's why you and I connected so deeply, is because we're about that life of taking action. And, sometimes it comes across, when you see Anthony's resume and you see my resume and you see like, well, these guys are, no. I remember when I got a coffee cup for my first talk 15 years ago, right? Like, you think about it. One of my first talks, the first one was actually paid, but I think it was maybe the second or third was literally a coffee cup. And I remember those periods of time. And Anthony, I know you remember where you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to express to my wife that this is a thing and I believe in this? And so even though you see Anthony where he is today, you have to understand there was a lot of action that has led up to the story. Yeah. And if you paid attention to the interview today, which I hope that you did, and I hope that you go and share this with somebody, it's all about your story. This is your legacy. And the book is going to help you shift your perspective, shift your mindset to better understand, just like Anthony said, how you're going to get later on down the line and be able to look back and know you had all the tools to go write one hell of a story. And for guys like Anthony and I, that's what we want. Many people would hear an interview like this and go, well, this is kind of weird. Ben's a coach. Anthony's a coach. Anthony's talking about his coaching programs. Ben's an author. No. Guys like us are so abundant. Like we know, like we got to get out there and help as many people as we can. Yeah. And so that's what it's all about. And that's why I appreciate you and the fire that you bring, Anthony. Any final lessons that you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, man. I believe that we all have this amazing story written for us. We're supposed to go live, but I believe we get in the way of it. Like, you talked about, like I started by talking to people at a park, and my wife along was like, you're wasting time. It's not, what are you doing this for? Seriously. She's like, you're not making any money. And the reality is I was this lowly gym owner, former NFL athlete who didn't even think I had anything of use or value to this, we'll call it personal development world. And years later, man, after drive and determination and learning and building, I realized, dude, you can be anybody. Literally, you could be anybody, but it's how willing you do the work. And if you can get to the point of understanding, it's just a separation of actions. That's the only separation. You make the actions, you make your life. So yeah, man, at the end of the day, it's cool to reflect upon that. But I really, truly hope people go and listen to what we're saying here and then finally let it lock in. Because like you said, Ben, like I got you giving stuff to my son. Like I gave my son access to your program because like we are not for everybody. That's the beauty. There's a ton of people, but I can't serve all of them. But it is still my duty to serve the world with what I got inside of me. So I appreciate you letting me come and share to your folks, my man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Anthony, and look forward to many more opportunities to connect in the future. And everybody, every single week, this is why we do what we do. You can feel Anthony's burn, right? And what did he say? It gave him goosebumps thinking back, right, to the adversity and challenge that he's had to rise up from his entire life, from growing up a little bit different than many, but shifting his perspective and staying focused on writing one hell of a story, and he certainly has. We always give you an action step of going down and having the opportunity to download your prize fighter day, our coaching stuff. Not today. This is all about Anthony, right? So we're going to make sure that you guys have the connection to go get the book, to enter to win the signed copies, to make sure that you get the free workbook, because this is your opportunity to connect on a deeper level to your story. Thank you for coming and joining us for The Burn, and we'll see you next week.